Kindly, Betty, can you tell us about the project and what it entails, and again, what you intend to achieve? Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for making time to be able to sit with us and talk with us. We are launching a project called Amplifying Women Voices, and it's going to be in Vihiga County. Actually, the project is going to be running in two counties, both Vihiga and Bungoma. But in Vihiga County, this project is going to run for 1 year. It is going to be spearheaded by women human rights defenders who are also survivors of gender-based violence. So that gives you an idea that this project is about addressing gender-based violence within the context of prevention, response, management, mitigation, and it brings into play the different actors, the duty bearers, and the role that they're supposed to be playing. We recognize that Vihiga County has had a series of violence where women and girls have been affected, but we also know that a number of those cases have actually just disappeared through the cracks because the systems have not worked. And when I mean systems, it's not just in terms of how you respond to it when it happens, but right from the time when it happens, who you go to, how you report, how you manage it, all that has been missing. So we recognize that we have got this massive violation that's going on, but we also admit that the systems have not been working, and this program is trying to ensure that we address that. Why? When violation happens, women will report. Immediately that reporting system starts, then it means it starts activating all the other different institutions to do their work. And it then becomes more effective because women will demand that there is going to be justice. So the program will also talk about building capacity or training both the women we're going to be working with and also the duty bearers, so that there's coherence and there's a lot of partnership that ensures that the outcome of this project, which is to prevent any more GBV, or in the event that it happens, to respond in a way that there's justice and accountability, that whole system starts functioning effectively and efficiently.
All right. Maybe would you talk about the kind of training you're going to give to these women, as you talked about training the women?
So we are going to talk about developing a tool where they can collect the data, and the training will be what sort of information are you collecting, how do you question your survivors, because we're also looking at the principles of doing it. When you get that information, how do you channel that information? So you've got a tool development and then you look at data collection. The other aspect is in early warning. What signs do you see that can portend or show that there could be an emergence of violence? And once you are able to collect that information, who do you take that information to? Because that's important. And then there's the whole aspect around communication. So you have communication for prevention, for management, for response. How do you partner with the duty bearers? If it's the police, what sort of relationship are we building in terms of communication? I report. What sort of feedback do I get back when I'm reporting? Because part of the roles that the women are going to play is not just ensuring that survivors get to a police station, but that once they get into the police station, there's a series of things that they must do. You have to investigate, you have to make sure documentation is done, you have to put all the documentation ready, and you must make sure that the case finds its way in court. If you go to a health facility, what is expected? How do you feel with PRC forms? What is it that they have to make sure that they look at when they get a PRC form? P3 form. That whole process is going to be not just about the practicality of collecting the information, but also the system strength. So if I'm collecting a P3 form and it's filled in 3 weeks, we need to be able to raise an alarm and say this is unacceptable. So the program is going to be looking at an applied form of building the institutions and the systems, but also in the process, it is building confidence of women, because then they become more comfortable to go into those spaces and keep demanding the things that happen.
Thank you about that. And are you working alone, or do you have partners that you're working with?
Yes, in fact, I'm glad that they're all sitting here. We have got Ben, and it is Irish Aid Fund that is actually supporting our project. We have got both United Nations Human Rights Commission and UN Women. They're going to tell them the names. Note, I've only talked about the institutions. I'm going to give them an opportunity to speak. And then we have got the National Gender Equality Commission. And I say that because we need to be able to put in place a gender-based recovery center, and there's certain standards. The Commission had already come out with a policy on what standards GBV or CSOs should be able to have, so that one can actually say it's effective. So this program is also looking at how do we make sure that those centers are up and running, and if they're there, how to make sure that they are going to be done in a way that they meet the guidelines that have been put in place. So this collaboration and partnership is important because we then are looking at the human rights-based approach. We are looking at the guiding principles for gender equality and empowerment. And then we're also looking at the support that is coming, the bilateral support, where we're talking about strengthening institutions in collaboration with the state to be able to fulfill their mandate and responsibilities towards citizens.
Now I'll start from my left, and now she'll introduce herself and tell us about her organization and how you're working towards this project and partnering with a CSO network.
Thank you. My name is Bungoma Vihiga. I work for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Our office mandate is to advance human rights protection in Kenya, and we do that by working with duty bearers such as the National Police Service, Prosecution, State Department of Gender, Kenya National Commission for Human Rights, and other actors who are mandated to advance human rights protection. We also work with the right holders, bearing in mind that they're the core bearers of human rights and their rights have to be guaranteed. In relation to this particular project, our support with CSO Network is to ensure that human rights standards are integrated in putting in place referral pathways in relation to GBV prevention and response. We know that for a long time, gender-based violence response often at times is not deeply integrated in human rights. And what Betty has mentioned in terms of ensuring that responses are survivor-centered, that is one of our core areas in ensuring that when duty bearers are rendering services to survivors, it is survivor-centered and survivors are centered in terms of the response. Tied to that also the other component, it's important to build the capacity of duty bearers so that they conduct their affairs in a manner that adheres to human rights protection. So part of this particular project also will include enhancing capacity of duty bearers, particularly within the county, so that when they receive survivors who are reporting cases, they ensure that it's in adherence to human rights standards. Particularly during electoral period, we find most of the time concern is to deliver free and fair election. And tied to that, it has to be done in a fashion that adheres to human rights. It's very easy to focus so much on election, and I find most of the support systems are geared towards election and at times compromising human rights. And our role here is to remind them that anyway, casting ballots is tied to human rights. So you have to ensure that it's all encompassing to human rights. It does not exist in a vacuum. The other component is appreciating that when duty bearers discharge their mandate, she has spoken about police, she's spoken about health services. They need to give feedback to right holder on how long the services will take. What is the lead time when you report a case that you should expect for it to be lodged in court? During election period, at times there have been incidents, not at times actually, in the past within Vihiga County, it has been one of the counties that has experienced violence, and it has been documented by Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. And we are building on that particular finding by Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. And allow me to mention one of the key components that we are really key on. That is to ensure that even as police are working and ensuring that there is peace during election, that in the event there is violence and survivors and human rights defenders are trying to access essential health services, there is a safe passage for them to do so, and they receive services which are timely and efficient. So in a nutshell, that is the component our organization will be bringing in, ensuring that human rights-based approach is applied prior to election, during election, and even after election.
Thank you very much, Bevalang, and would like to move on to Madam Chebet and also talk about your organization and how you're partnering with CSO network to ensure this project succeeds.
Coming in as the National Gender and Equality Commission, our core mandate is to promote gender equality and non-discrimination for all, and our focus here is about the special interest group that the project seeks to caution against gender-based violence, and that is the women. And in this regard, I strongly believe that the project is coming in handy, especially during this particular time whereby gender-based violence against women and girls is heightened before, during, and after elections. And I think it will come in handy as women will be equipped so much with how they can protect themselves and protect fellow women against any form of violence, and the girls, being children, at this particular time they need protection, and women just need to bring in their experience based on their previous experiences that they have suffered the same during the same period of seasons. So I strongly believe that this project is just coming at the right time, and being a state agency in terms of coordinating the gender sector working group for Vihiga County, then I think NGC will come in handy to just provide some form of leadership in terms of strengthening the referral pathway, considering that the gender sector working group will have both the state agencies and non-governmental organizations, including individuals that are focusing on gender matters and protection of women and girls during this period. Then there is also the aspect of the gender-based violence recovery centers or rescue centers. I think as a commission, we will come in handy to just bring on board the standard operation procedures for the same facilities in case it occurs. However, at this particular time, we are really focusing on prevention of GBV against women and girls. Thank you.
You talked about having safe centers or safe spaces for people who've been violated. I've seen a center done by the women representatives, the women rep or the women rep around Sabato. Are you also going to use that, or are you going to make your own?
We are not going to make our own. Actually, the gender-based recovery center that is done at Sabatia, it is done for the county to serve the citizens of this county. So ours is just to bring in the support that will be required at that time, when need be, just to guide the procedures and how the terms of operations of such facilities. So that is the support that we will bring in. So we are not coming up with any other shelters, and I'm sure with the discussions that the women may be having within this forum is that they're looking for these facilities just as a second response. However, the focus is on prevention. We don't want these incidences to occur.
Okay. Now, it is the same thing, how you're working with a CSO network to ensure that this project succeeds, and how you're coming in as a partner, how are you partnering with them for ensure that this succeeds?
Thank you, Angela. Let's first of all allow me to introduce my organization. I come from the UN Women, which is the United Nations entity for gender equality and empowerment of women. And as you note from the name, our core mandate is on promotion of gender equality and empowerment of women. And we do this through 4 key program areas: working on ending violence against women and girls, women in leadership and political participation, women economic empowerment, and women's participation in peace processes. For us, this partnership is key, and we've had this partnership with OHCHR for quite a while, our sister UN agencies, because we believe that GBV, or gender-based violence against women, specifically is a human rights issue, not just a gender issue, but a human rights issue, because other than the physical, the psychological, the economic impact on the survivors, it impedes women's full participation in the public life and them being out there earning a living participating in politics. So that's why it's a key partnership for us to partner with the OHCHR and with the CSO network here in Vihiga County with the support of our kind donors, the Irish Aid. So for us, our key angle in this partnership is to ensure that the voices of women and of the survivors and of the women who are participating in peace processes are heard at the policy level. Caroline, my colleague, already mentioned that we do work with both the duty bearers and the right holders and the mandate holders in this county. But we want to ensure that their voices, their experiences, and their suggestions and their feedback get the right people who are making policies. How do we do this? Through ensuring that they participate in the county coordination mechanisms and even at the national level. Stephanie mentioned about the gender sector working group as a critical coordination space. We have the court users committees also in the counties, and we have to make sure that these women's voices and their experiences get into the county election preparedness and contingency plans. So that is our key angle, and we ensure that where we are not able to prevent violence, which is our key focus, that we must prevent violence against women. But if we are not able to prevent that, there is comprehensive response to this violence. But we don't have the chain maybe breaking at the point of maybe police, or for a survivor not to know where is a shelter, where do I go when this happens. So part of the processes will include linking them with the duty bearers, and as well as with Betty said, capacity building them on the referral chain and the referral mechanism.
Thank you very much. So, now I'll actually see the gentleman around.
The only gentleman in this group. Thank you. Yeah, so normally I will not take a long time. And once again, thanks for the opportunity to talk about what we do. Congratulations once again to my colleagues who are doing the bigger part of the job. So on my side, representing the Irish Embassy here in Kenya, and of course, importantly, Ireland. Let me start by saying that the Republic of Ireland and Kenya are very unique convergences, a very unique history, which perhaps many of us already know. You know, the bulk of missionaries in Kenya actually come from Ireland. And that has a long implication because they have been involved for a long time in humanitarian issues, including education, human rights as well, issues of gender, women and girls, among other things. And there's something very unique is the fact that Ireland and Kenya actually at the moment members of the UN Security Council, and they have been, Ireland just did their part of chairing the presidency of the UNSC, and Kenya just, I think the presidency is still ongoing or it's ended. And so that tells you the unique connection between the two countries, quite strong in terms of that shared history. And most recently, colleagues, you'll remember that the Irish minister, Simon Coveney, visited Nairobi. And one of the things he did, which was quite historic, was launch this project. And that tells you how important the government of Ireland, takes the issues of gender and the empowerment of women and girls. So earlier during the courtesy call, I talked about reaching the furthest behind first. So basically, the international development policy for Ireland looks at 4 key things. One of them is the empowerment of women and girls and gender as a whole. Of course, there are others, including humanitarianism, climate action, as well as other things around food security. But specific to this project is the issue of women, peace and security, which the mission here in Nairobi is taking quite highly on its agenda. And it just does not look at Kenya only, but also the other countries of accreditation, including Somalia, Eritrea, and Sudan. So this project is one of those very exciting, I would say, relationships that the mission has with Kenya, but also specifically with the partners. And it's quite exciting to have the real human rights defenders here with us, because oftentimes we are talking there in Nairobi and we don't get the rare opportunity to engage and listen to the issues, especially that my colleague Betty and Chebet are engaging in. So this launch is very key to us. We really are looking forward to see how then it goes and translates into what we really want to see, a peaceful election importantly, an election that's going to be inclusive, where women, especially women in this country and girls, do not fear participating in elections because of some of this potential violence that tend to come out. Otherwise, we are quite excited as a mission to continue the partnership. I'm sure it's going to go on. Hopefully, Bev and Christine, it's my prayer that it continues more. And we don't just look at violence, we look at perhaps more preventative actions, as you put it. Otherwise, thank you very much for this opportunity one more time, and we really look forward to seeing how this implementation goes. Thank you.